Thank you very much, Susan. Great to partner with you and together with F5 to bring together the industry so that we can have these fabulous conversations on how to continue to drive growth and profitability in the telecoms industry. Now, for this next session, themed Reinventing Growth, I'm excited to bring together two of Asia's maybe young and young in their roles as well as young in age, who are leading some exciting initiatives in both their companies. First up, I would like to invite Imri Mukhtar, Managing Director, Group CEO, Telecom Malaysia. Imri, great. Thank you very much for joining, Imri.
Hi, Manoj. No, thank you for inviting me to be part of this exciting program organized by Twimbit.
Excellent. Imri leads a fixed line business which has had some very exciting growth in the last year. You have strengthened your core connectivity. You are one of the dominant enterprise players. Now you have a strong opportunity to play in mobile. So really looking forward to hearing from you how you're looking at driving the growth. Allow me to invite another exciting CEO who has just taken the realms of a fast-growing mobile operator in Indonesia and transforming to becoming a digital telco. So Vikram, you have joined Indosat, what, about 3-4 years ago? Been called maybe in many ways the turnaround artist there, now become the second largest telco in Indonesia. So welcome and thank you for joining.
No, thanks, Manoj, and good morning, everyone. Good to have Imri also, here. It's an honor to be a part of this conversation.
Excellent. Great. You both are leading very different businesses in many ways. And maybe we start with you, Vikram. You have just gone through a fabulous merger of two companies. Mergers are always difficult. So, what do you see? Is growth, Vikram, the key priority, or are you focused on the merger and optimizing cost? What are your key priorities as you look at for the next couple of years? And what do you see as the future for Indosat Ooredoo?
Look, Manoj, this is a very interesting question you asked me. IOH was born on 4th January. We have just completed our 100 days. But before I took over this role, and this is what was playing on my mind. When you talk about merger, in-country merger, especially in telecom space, the whole excitement is around, and this is especially I talk to my analyst folks, is around synergy value. This is what they excite. But let me put it this way, I was very lucky. I had put my thoughts and I was talking to my shareholder. And what I told them that, the way I look at it, it is an opportunity to make 1 + 1 = 10. So to your point, it is something which is very important. I will break it into two parts, Manoj. Look at Indosat historically, because surviving entity is Indosat. For last 12 quarters, we have been growing 5x of the industry. So we have tasted the success of growth. And what I want to tell you is that the only way to do it is to work with a growth mindset, to work with a mindset of maximizing all the resources. And then this is what we are driving our journey towards.
Excellent. Thank you, Vikram. Imri, you have had a spectacular, just like Indosat, you had a spectacular 2021. Maybe one of the best performing fixed line, because you have a dominant fixed line broadband as well as enterprise business. So one of the best performing operators from that context. So where do you see are the biggest growth opportunities for Telecom Malaysia?
Oh, Manoj, I think you're being very kind there, Manoj, mentioning our 2021. Yeah, but 2021 was a year that, you're right, we grew our revenue, right, by about 6.4% after 3 years of revenue decline, right? And and couple that with our cost efficiency programs, we did grow our EBIT as well, by about 6.6%. And but as you mentioned, right, it's not about the current growth trajectory; it's what's beyond that. And I think in addition to maintaining that growth momentum, at TM we see three biggest growth opportunities. Yeah. As mentioned, we are a fiber-based fixed telco. So the next opportunity will be in 5G. As some of you may or may not appreciate, Malaysia is taking that bold step, yeah, of pursuing 5G through a single wholesale network, where all the telcos would then access seekers to this network. So which it puts TM as a fixed operator on a level playing field with the other mobile operators. So which then elevates the competition to be more at the service level. Of course, as we know, the convergence, the battle of convergence of fixed mobile convergence, I think that's where the next value proposition will be brought to the consumers and so forth. I think that's one for TM. The next area, from the many years of serving a large and diverse enterprise business in Malaysia through our fixed fiber network, also presents an opportunity for TM to grow as they transition on their digital transformation journey. As we know, it's no longer a choice, it's a need post-pandemic, right? For them to really scale up and to be much more resilient. And it requires, a beyond connectivity push by TM, right? An opportunity of growth beyond just the connectivity, into the more digital solutions for the various industry verticals. I think that's the second one. And a third one that we see is a big growth opportunity is around regional connectivity as well as data center, as we see an explosion of this consumer consumption, right? Of video, of games and so forth. We see a greater activity of this our US and China-based hyperscalers, in Malaysia as well as in the region. So opportunities in terms of connecting into and out of Malaysia as well as the region also presents another big growth opportunity. So I think those are the three, Manoj.
Fabulous. Thank you, Imri. So, what are some of the toughest decisions as you guys are in the hot seat? People have huge expectations, both of you, in terms of leading the respective companies. You have exciting brands. So what are some of the toughest decisions that you are taking to support this growth aspirations for the respective companies? Maybe Vikram, you can start first, and then Imri can.
Manoj, many of us have been in the telecom industry for maybe 15, 20 years. I think one of the things which we need to realize, COVID has been a silver lining for the sector. Yeah. And with that, there is a lot of disruption happening, and that disruption is caused by technology. So that calls for a complete change in the operating model. Telcos, we are more like high capex, template on IRR, PNL. It doesn't work that way, Manoj, now. So I think for me, changing the culture and changing some of the operating model. So one is getting your shareholder, getting your board aligned on being more forward-looking, helping them understand it is our duty as leaders to help our board understand that disruption is happening. And then if we don't change our operating model, let me tell you one example. We treat our big partner as vendor. It doesn't work this way. We only work with an RFP model. It doesn't work that way. So we also need to understand this is an era of collaboration. So how we move towards strategic partnership from a vendor, service provider relationship, that needs a bit of a change in operating model, but at the same time changing the culture. See, a lot of verticals are no more needed. A lot of new verticals are needed. So I think for me, that change management, stakeholder management, and being relevant is very important. And I have seen personally 2-3 examples, and it is extremely important that we get it right.
Excellent. Imri, what are the big tough decisions you have to take? You are leading almost a 20,000 employee national GLC. and you have the same expectations. People expect you to deliver the results and financial performance of a private link company as well as meet social obligation.
Yeah. I think that is a tough challenge, right? The tough decisions that needs to be made. Yeah? As you had mentioned, TM, I think for the benefit of the audience today, yeah, we are a public listed company, but we are also a government linked company, where about more than 60% of the shareholding of TM is held by government linked investment company, right? So there are certain obligations is expected to be fulfilled by TM. And building on what Vikram mentioned, during the pandemic, for example, we saw this explosion of data, right? As the work style shifted from office to home, we saw data consumption of household increase by 60%. And at that time as well, we needed to increase our capex significantly, and this was unplanned, right? To support that explosion of data in the country. But at the same time as well, we are mindful of the tough economic situation, where citizens, household was facing then, right, during the lockdown period, and how do we then balance and maintain that monthly subscription? So it was something that needed to be balanced, yeah, in that role as a PLC and a GLC. So second tough decision, I think, as we start on this transformation journey, yeah, it's really building to what Vikram had mentioned. It's about the people, right? It's about the mindset. Some of the toughest decision, as we know, it's not so much just on the business, but it's on the people decision. Yeah, making some people changes sooner rather than later. Yeah? Once we've established with the board and the leadership bench what's the vision of that success and the priorities, and you need to take that stock take, right, on in this analogy of a football team. Yeah, this starting 11, right? Do you need to make some changes to your striker, to your midfielder, and that's always tough. Yeah, and also circling back to what I mentioned, to that growth opportunity earlier, as TM is now transitioning from being a telecom company to a tech co. It's that challenge as well, trying to attract this new digital talent, right? Yeah, who's very much more familiar with tech rather than they see Telecom Malaysia, telco. This seems to be pretty damn dumb pipe, pretty boring, right? Whereas they are more in the tech solution, in the SaaS, in the cloud, and so forth, right? So that's another shift that we need to make, and it requires a wholesale understanding, and acceptance that this is the new DNA that we need to shape.
Yeah. So, Imri, I heard about you talk and you've written about this human-centered tech company that you want to build your vision is TM to be a human-centered tech company. What does that really mean? And you said people transformation. So, in a nutshell, what does a human-centered tech company look like, and what is that belief system you're looking at driving?
Yeah. So human-centered technology, I think that's that vision that we would like to shift towards, from where we are today, as seen as a telco, as a converged provider, right? Beyond that, it's for TM to provide, to enable technology to really solve human events, life events, right? It's not just about bringing technology for the sake of technology, for example, but to really serve the needs of society, of businesses, as the whole ecosystem transitions post-pandemic, right? And talking and I guess that's a very powerful combination, right? Technology as well as human-centered, yeah. Because when we talk about human-centered, it's also a broader spectrum. As we know today, the world is really moving towards from shareholder-centric to more stakeholder-centric, right, Manoj? And when we talk about stakeholder, it's the spectrum of our stakeholder is really broad, right? It's customers, creating that impact, as I said, to this digital society and business, but also not forgetting our shareholders, providing the returns and the dividends, but also our responsibility, towards digitizing Malaysia in this case, right? In terms of supporting the Malaysians in times of difficulties, like the example during the pandemic, where we had to invest but still really balance and maintain the subscription, right? And also to our employees. So I guess it's a broad narrative, but I think it's got a lot of legs, which allows us to be more balanced in terms of our pursuit in the coming years, balancing that role as a public listed company, as a GLC as well. So short question, but quite a fair bit.
Correct. And, Vikram, so you have stated your aspiration to become Indonesia's digital lifestyle partner, or a digital telco. So what does that mean, and where are those adjacencies? And maybe a follow up to that, so as you get into these new areas, maybe if you get into any financial services or entertainment, man, the margins will not be the existing margins. And you talked a bit in saying, hey, I have to educate stakeholders. So are they willing to accept? Because you invest in a telco because you expect good dividends, and you're saying now, hey, I'm going to become a digital company. Are investors ready? How are you managing that? So firstly, what does digital telco mean, and how do you manage your stakeholders, as you briefly alluded to in that journey?
So, Manoj, let me answer this into two parts. IOH, Indosat, we want to be a very purpose-driven company. And when we say that we want to be a digital life cycle and digital partner for Indonesia, I think the first role still for us is, connecting every Indonesian. So when I talk about that, there are still 12,000 villages in Indonesia which doesn't even have 4G. So we have a lot of work. Indonesia is a big country, and our when I speak about being a digital enablement, everyone talks about Indonesia becoming a digital powerhouse in Southeast Asia, and I think Indosat has a big role to play. So we want to be an enabler there, Manoj, by connecting first. Then comes, once you connect, how you go beyond that. So for me, we are very committed to our purpose. Now your question around, how do we make sure we just don't stop there? At the end of the day, customers are very demanding, and we have a relationship with that customer. So that is where the whole role of being a life cycle provider. And if I have a customer, if he needs a microfinancing, if he needs music, if he needs video, if he needs, how do we do that and do it from a customer perspective? My learning, Manoj, it is very difficult to do simple things. This is where we fail. And this is where the role of customer experience comes. Today, customers are very demanding. If they want something, they want it now, and they want it in a click. So this is where, simplifying everything and being very transparent and trustworthy. So this is how we look at it. Sometimes I feel this whole digital getting abused too much. So we want to simplify that. What does it mean for our customer? And what does it mean for Indonesia as a country, and how we are playing that role? So this is one part of it. Coming to your second question on educating our stakeholder, educating our board, and working around that, it's the role of management, people with us. We need to show them. You spoke about dividend, and you spoke about, look at it, who has got the value is not with telco, it has gone to somebody else. So we have all seen the era of 2G, 3G, 4G. Now we are getting into 5G. It is high time that we learn from all those things. We need to ensure that while we are doing things which is creating value for all stakeholders, but we have to make sure it is having a value for us also. We can't be just, so I think, to answer very specifically your question, it is the telco folks who need to be very clear. And I'm sure, there'll be more value for telco also. I understand your question. Yes, on adjacent, the margins are less. And that is why it is very important to grow core also. I get nervous when people talk about adjacent and forget core. I think the core is more important. This is our bread and butter. How we master core, how we grow core double digit, there is an opportunity there, And then when you do that, we are in a very unique place. I was in Silicon Valley 2 months back. I saw how people are looking at telco now and how they used to look at 3 years back. All the big boys. I don't want to name them. So it is up to us to get the fair share of the value on that whole pie and keep customer on the center of everything. At the end of the day, this is our strength. So today, if I have close to 100 million customer, how I'm keeping them happy, and while doing that, how am I getting our fair share when it comes to adjacent? But I want to, really make this point, Manoj. For us, we have to master the art of growing core double digit, more than that. There is potential, and this is how I see. And when I looked at your opening remarks around how things are coming, and also one more point, I see sometime a mindset that when you grow, you compromise on EBITDA. Look at us last 7-8 quarter, EBITDA has grown 2x of revenue. So while we grew revenue 10-12%, EBITDA has grown 20%. So this is where you need to get the right balance of monetizing your digital asset, growing your core, and partnering or working around right adjacent. So this is where the journey we are going through.
Excellent. So Vikram, you're saying on one end, there is still a lot of good growth left in connectivity and enabling that connectivity in Indonesia. And second, there is still a lot more room to optimize cost and deliver it more efficiently. And we got to nail that well first before we make big headway into the adjacencies, or you're starting to play in adjacencies, but you're saying there is enough to explore and unlock here, which we should not neglect.
Yes, Manoj. So I look at it this way. Our objective is to ensure that 25% of our revenue mix in 4 to 5 years is coming from adjacent. That doesn't mean that I cannot grow my core double digit. So there is two ways of doing 25, that my core revenue is coming down and this is going up. I think there's an opportunity to disproportionately grow core, but grow adjacent, but keep growing core. So we cannot forget. I'll give you a small example. Last week I was with the CEO of a big company, not non-telco, and his team was making a presentation, and then he said, we have legacy and we want to grow adjacent, and I was a bit surprised, and then I asked him, how much will your adjacent revenue contribute in 3 years? The answer was 3-4%. I said, why do you call your core as a legacy? This is not a legacy. This is your bread and butter. So please. So I think, Manoj, we have to do it both, and we have to master that art. And that is where we need a more collaborative approach. I also very strongly believe we can't do it everything on our own. We need the right strategic partner. We don't need to reinvent everything, and we have to have the mindset that we don't need to keep everything with us. We need to bring the right partner and work towards making our customer happy. And in that whole process, we need to do it both parallelly.
Fabulous. Imri, you are making some decisions, big decisions. I saw today there is an announcement about Credence, a new subsidiary focused on ICT. Malaysia is slightly at a different stage of development as compared to Indonesia. I think you have a fair bit of good coverage and connectivity already in place. So how is it for you in working with the stakeholders to, firstly, about the growth in these adjacencies? Maybe an ICT business will not have the kind of margins that you have currently in connectivity. Is that a challenge to explain and express with the stakeholders?
Yes, indeed it is. Yeah, and with regards to ICT, yeah, so that very much puts the spotlight under our B2B business, right? Yeah, or enterprise and so forth, including SMEs. What Vikram mentioned, I very much concur, right? That the base is still our core, our connectivity. And that, as I shared earlier on, did register a healthy growth, of about 6% last year. And how the conversation with the investors and the analysts, is to really get them to understand that it is a portfolio consideration. It is from a consideration of the average revenue per account. Of course, there will be still the current voice services for the enterprises. There's data, there's internet, even as we move towards the ICT and so forth. And that portfolio approach, it also applies for our retail, right? As I mentioned, at the retail, what we anticipate the battleground will be the convergence, right? The fixed mobile convergence. It's about the battle for the household to provide fixed broadband, fiber broadband, to provide the mobile to the household, or even entertainment. And the consideration is really then to look at the average revenue per household. And today, what we have seen in terms of the customer retention rate, it is much higher to a customer that has got the triple play or the quadruple play. And that is where that value comes in. We can't look at it on a per product basis in terms of the lower margin of that entertainment content, whether it's video or games and so forth. But it's that stickiness and the customer life cycle longevity is what creates that value. So whether it's at the retail, whether it's at the B2B domain, I think the key understanding and appreciation is that it is a portfolio consideration. Never on the standalone that the margins are low, and for us as a telco, the core will always remain the connectivity. And as we do that through modernization, optimization, it's to really bring down the cost to serve. As previously, I think you were talking about moving more towards a software-defined, lower approach, which will lower the cost to serve for us. I mean, that is the bread and butter that we'll continue to do, to really ensure a healthy margin for our core business, for us to then be able to invest in these adjacencies, which will bring value of that portfolio stickiness that I mentioned.
Excellent. Thank you. Both of you alluded to how you need to change teams, how you need to build new capabilities, and yet as you and we have a very exciting CTO panel after this, who are talking, and where we have already seen the convergence of IT teams with network teams. You are competing for talent today with some of the well-funded unicorns who maybe don't even have any expectations of delivering immediate profitability as well. And you're driving this human transformation. So can you tell us a bit about the human transformation, people transformation work that is underway? How are you doing it? What are you expecting? What do people who are, there are several people listening today who have aspirations to work with people like you. What are you doing from a people transformation? What are your expectations of the next generation of talent as you build the teams for tomorrow? Maybe you can start, Vikram. Before that, sorry, Vikram, if anybody has any questions, comments, please tell it to us. We have another 8-9 minutes, which we can ask these wonderful CEOs some questions. So sorry, Vikram, to interrupt.
No, Manoj, you touched upon the question which is very close to my heart. Look, we are on the midst of something which is very interesting. I think Imri spoke about, from a conventional telco, how we can become a techno-commercial telco and a digital life cycle. We have all those opportunities. And to do that, we need right talent. One thing, Manoj, which has struck me, and I have been personally investing a lot of time with one-on-one with some of the people who have been not a conventional telco, who we have been able to onboard. One thing I want to highlight, they we need to get people with the right operating model and the right empowerment. We need to have the culture of it is okay to fail. See what is the difference between telco versus a unicorn who is not putting immediate expectation. Uh, One difference is, telcos generally work around plan business case versus actual. It's okay to fail on few business case, and how we can empower those people when you bring them. You don't have to tell them what to do. You just give them the brief and they will surprise you. So I'm personally, very impressed, uh, and then especially the way things are changing. Personally, I'm into a reverse mentoring. Trying to get and learn. We have to be relevant to what is happening around us. But the other point, Manoj, on this is, it's all about people. All these adjacent you spoke about, and then for us at IOH, we are a new company, and how we are able to rewrite some of those things. When you have such opportunity, it's complete opportunity for us to give the first get the right talent. Let me put it what it is about who, the what and how is all clear. We need to get the right who and empower them, give them all the culture which is needed to fire. This is where I see, and I think it is an exciting journey, Manoj. And then the more we invest on that, the more we'll be pleasantly surprised positively.
Excellent. Imri, you have already made, I can see, you have made so many changes in your leadership team. You have brought in a lot of new talent. Can you tell us a bit where you are today in that people transformation journey?
Yeah. In terms of the people transformation, it goes beyond the leadership bench, right? As you had mentioned, we had made those changes. We had changed the starting 11 of the C-suite, but it goes deeper beyond that. And we've and we and what we've heard, I think today from Vikram and also I'm sure from other CEOs, in terms of the aspiration to move from a telco to more of a tech, to provide that lifestyle, life event solutions, is what everyone's aspiring. But and as we know, what would make that difference, whether we'll reach there or not in whatever time, is really the people, right? So it is a very critical ingredient of this transformation, uh, and to drive the operating model within TM, we have embraced since January 2021 an agile way of working within TM. What that means is that if before we had all these divisional, functional silos, if you like, and it comes together in committees, weekly committees and so forth, we have pivoted, to be, which is a more top-down way of working, right? We have experimented throughout the whole organization to a more bottom-up, cross-functional, agile way of working, where we have created about more than 40 teams, each with a clear mandate of what success looks like, whether it's from a revenue perspective, whether it's from a cost efficiency, whether it's from a customer journey improvement, and so forth. And we bring in cross-functional teams, handpicked cross-functional teams with the mandate for them to come together and continuously create that impact, right? So that is something fundamental, right? The shift in TM from a very top down before, running by committees, now to a much more agile. And to do that, we have identified more than 1,200 of our top performers, our top talents, to be part of these value programs. More than 40 value programs, and to to really help on this new way of working, we had to hire, we had to even develop what we call agile coaches, to ensure this new way of working gets institutionalized. I think that's one. And secondly, it's about building that tech talent, right? Attracting them. Yeah, and as you mentioned, it requires us to set up a different subsidiary, yeah, digital subsidiary that a different culture, yeah, that mirrors more of a tech rather than a telco to attract this digital talent. And those are those two, if you like, big ticket people transformation, yeah, above and beyond some changes that was made to the leadership bench.
Excellent. You know, thank you very much, Imri, Vikram. What a fabulous conversation. You know, I've been covering telecoms now over 25 years. I started as an analyst when the licenses in India were issued to mobile operators. We went through a huge wave of excitement and growth. And then the last 5, 7 years, we saw that it was not as exciting anymore. We were losing good talent. Young people were not coming out of universities saying we got to work for telcos. But the last 2 years, I have seen how telcos have evolved, how telcos have changed. Clearly, we are on the cusp of something very exciting. We generate reasonably good free cash flows that enable us to invest and drive, big changes. And with young leaders like you, I'm truly very excited about the next decade of fabulous growth in telcos. We got one quick question. I'll take this. LEO satellites. I think Bala talks about LEO satellites because both of you work are in developing countries where coverage is an issue. Do you see partnering with LEO satellites or others to help expand and do coverage? Is that a quick one? Maybe either Vikram, you want to take that?
No, I think I had a good conversation with both, two companies who are on the forefront. One is OneWeb and second is Starlink. I think OneWeb has a more collaborative approach. I got the opportunity to meet their group CEO, again, we need to work with partners, especially in a country like Indonesia, as I told you, backhauling, still, unconnected place. So I saw a very forward-looking approach from OneWeb specifically.
Excellent. Fabulous. Great. I think, thank you very much again. We will maybe, the best way to get really deep into what is your thinking. And, you can see there's a lot of chat and comment. People are excited and looking to work in companies like both of your companies. And, Twimbit is really about a learning platform to help groom the industry leaders for tomorrow. So thank you, Imri. Thank you very much, Vikram, for sharing your valuable time. Imri, best wishes for the upcoming Raya and best wishes to everybody in Indosat family as well, Vikram, for the upcoming holidays.